Is it almost too late for us to begin buying altcoins? Well, for a lot of us, unfortunately, we haven't filled our main crypto positions. And of course, with that comes this feeling of FOMO, like you're almost missing out on life-changing gains. And what that pretty much leads to is you making some bad decisions with your buys. Now, I know this because I have that feeling myself. Some of the people I've been speaking to in my private community have been doing swaps, moving out of altcoins I've been holding for many years now and swapping to whatever the current trend in the market is. And this plays a big role on the state of your mindset, because if you can't control that, you're going to be always chasing the market, which leads you to pick up the breadcrumbs, and that ultimately leads to you ending the bull run with less money than you put in, aka you just become part of that 90% statistic of, unfortunately, losers, right? We want to be the 10% of winners. So with that in mind, of course, guys, it's a very important video today for a lot of us who may not really feel like we are entirely in the market, or maybe we are fresh money in the market. We are completely shooting blind. This is going to give us that overall arching answer to that big question. So look, the purpose today is to teach you something new. So if you do feel like you learned something, help support my work by dropping a like on the video and subscribe. So of course, you importantly can achieve your crypto goals. Now let me break this down, because I know some of you are going to instinctively feel like watching maybe 5-10 minutes of this video is going to suffice, but it's not. I'm kind of breaking this up into certain sections to get the really big picture and to give you that foresight to go, okay, Kyron's providing me the information here, but I will very easily be able to tell what is happening, aka I'm zooming out for you. So let's get into it. Now, again, especially for those who are new money, what you're really feeling like right now is prices are going up, coins are moving, you feel like if you buy, it's going to go down, and then all of a sudden another altcoin tends to pop off, and a whole new narrative springs up, then you sell, then you buy, and it is very frustrating, okay? So this is why it is important to have the overall mindset of just being a sniper, buying a certain altcoin that is obviously somewhat good, you've done somewhat research on, and just wait. Eventually it'll pop off. But I get it, right? It's very easy to be confused amongst the noise. I mean, it felt like yesterday Polkadot was $43. Now it's pumping. Solana's up $150. Bitcoin is 71,700. We literally at new all-time highs as I speak. So one such example of why you might get caught in the noise, not just on the macro lens, but when you start looking at altcoins maybe you were interested in, a prime example is Fetch. I was calling Fetch back down here at 50 cents, and then it just kept going and going and going, right? It just literally did not stop, and it still has not stopped yet. People didn't want to get in at $1 billion market cap, or $1.5 billion market cap, or $2 billion market cap, and now it's at $2.4 billion market cap. So these things pop off, and it's very easy to move out of your existing altcoins you're in right now and FOMO into Fetch, and then Fetch dumps, because again, you're following the money. A prime example of this is just simply doing some of your own research and figuring out some important variables like that I try to teach on the channel called popularity, right? This is one of the so-called triggers that pushes an altcoin up. One of those recently was Fetch had a big announcement. So that's besides the point, but I did want to mention, guys, it does not make any sense whatsoever for you to buy an altcoin, especially selling an altcoin that you may currently have, to fall in line with the current trend. Don't fall in line with the trend, be a trendsetter. Sit and wait. And this all comes down to what I teach again called narratives. If you can find the right narratives to be in, you will have that money come to you no problem at all. Where are we right now in the market? Well, this is important to know, because zooming out and getting a glimpse of where we currently are, I mean, that is the most important thing in my opinion. Now, I'm going to have to take you back here briefly to some things I've spoken about before, but I'm going to give you a lot more information. As time has progressed, we've been given more information on basically what is about to happen. So this is the last bull run cycle, and what you're looking at here is the blue line, which is the global market cap, tracked of course, and the red line is every altcoin apart from the top 10. So 11 altcoins all the way down in terms of their market dominance. So basically how strong they are in the current market. All right, that's pretty simple to look at. So all the way down from AVAX down, we pretty much have a look at their indexed score versus the top 10. And of course, when this index score goes up, so when this orange line is going up and this blue line is stable, that means that altcoins, again, 11 down, are outpacing the global market, which means those top 10 altcoins. And with this, I've gone larger. So most people will have a look at a chart similar to this down here, the K33, which is having a look at Bitcoin versus the total 3, which is Bitcoin and Ethereum taken out and just like, every other altcoin. But this includes things like mainly stable coins and some of these bigger altcoins as well. I like to go a little bit more condensed into the true altcoins. And to save all the consistent viewers I have on my channel the pain and agony of me repeating myself time and time again, essentially what I've identified is around the time of the halving here in blue, it is typical to find that altcoins are outpacing the global market cap. As you can see, this is where we currently are in the last cycle, 4 years ago. And again, right now, we should have the orange line, so altcoins outpacing the global market. What typically happens is we have an inverse of these. They flip over each other. And when the global market, as you can see over here, so those top 10 altcoins, they begin growing and growing, and altcoins are kind of pushing down a little bit, or at least underneath that line, we do have the main first leg up. Now, in the last cycle, people were calling this DeFi summer. Basically, all altcoins, mainly DeFi altcoins, were really taking off. And so this was followed up by the cooldown. The next time they kind of inverse and the orange line went over the blue line, we had our first pullback. So this information is invaluable when we are in the bull run itself, okay? When we have that cooling off potential period, when we find these two inverse, might be a good indication we will exit to have a retracement very, very soon. And the final leg in purple over here, typically when they reverse again, it goes up and then we have that final push. But as you'll see in a second, this is all very contingent on following the 4-year cycle plan. And if you're like, well, how's he pulling this information up? Don't worry, it happened in the last cycle too. 2016 to 2018 cycle, the same thing happened. Again, at the time of the halving, we had altcoins beating the global market cap at that time. And then the flipping happening, we did have that massive push up in that first major leg. It was shorter. $1 billion back then went a lot further than it did in the last cycle and what it will do in this cycle. And then we had that flip. And then instead of having the cool off, of course, we had a straight bear market. I'm going to stop this video briefly because I wanted to ask you a quick question. Are you finding crypto super hard to get your head around? Well, you've seen nothing yet, because Tabo takes hard to a whole new level. As you may have guessed by the name, Tabo is an adult entertainment project that provides media and streaming services with access to their array of models at real-life events. With features like calendars, magazines, NFT collections, and a whole lot more, Tabo offers more than just video content. What they do is provide unprecedented access to models with millions of followers like Chloe Ture, Jaylene Cook, and Jenny Summers, which are some of the hottest models in the adult industry. Now, their roadmap indicates that we are due for a marketplace revamp sometime in the first quarter of this year, with the addition of Tabo Metaverse in quarter 2, mobile app and AI companions in quarter 3, and that highly anticipated mansion party in quarter 4. As a matter of fact, they've actually already had their first exclusive mansion party event, which took place in 2022 for their top tier holders. With the Web2 adult entertainment market currently on target to break $300 billion worldwide by 2025 and crypto to fall somewhere around $7 trillion, Tabo is a unique blend of two massive markets with the, let's just say, additional benefits, of course. There is currently an ongoing competition in collaboration with BingX, a popular crypto exchange, where Tabo is giving 5 lucky winners $10,000 each worth of their token. All you have to do to participate is follow the link down below. It's important to note that the founders are currently not doxxed, so make sure you guys go ahead and do your own research. And with that said, back to the video. So where are we today? Well, interestingly enough, we've actually already had that flippening happen, okay? Which doesn't make much sense historically, because altcoins never really had that moment where they took that major precedence around the time of the halving. Again, same thing back here. It's the complete opposite, actually. We are finding that these top 10 altcoins have started already. Now, again, this is a bit unprecedented, so it hasn't happened before, but it makes a bit of sense when you consider the fact that these Bitcoin ETFs are now in the mix. There is so much invested in these now, hundreds of millions and multi-billions, that it would make sense that it would kind of skew the data and for us to now have, this massive first leg up sooner than what we thought. However, I still think that a small alt season is due here. Once Bitcoin finally decides to cool down a little bit, which, as we'll see momentarily, is likely to happen in the next month, altcoins should push up, which would mean that this will hopefully inverse, putting us back on track, having that minor alt season possibly in around 50 more days to 100 more days. And then finally, before that first major leg up, like we are technically in right now, it'll flip again, okay? So blue will be back on top and then orange will be on the bottom, okay? And so this would make sense when we look at this chart right here, which is a logarithmic chart of the Bitcoin cycle, okay? Every single Bitcoin cycle from about, well, way back in, since it pretty much started back in 2010. And we can see between 1 to 2 months after the price of Bitcoin flips its all-time high, we have about a month of insane price action. We're talking about 100 to 200% gains, but then followed by just as a severe correction. Take this first one back here. We passed that Bitcoin all-time high in 2013. Then we came up, had a massive growth. I think we grew like over 100% over here. Wow. So we grew almost a 9x. And then we came straight back down again. We went 80% down. Now, 80% down is a lot more severe than 700% up. That's a massive drop, okay? Likewise, back over here from the 2013 high in 2017, we had that passing over here, the all-time high. We moved up for a bit. Again, this was quite an intense pump. We had about 100, so just over a 2x growth. And then we had a drop of about 40%. Likewise, again, in the last cycle, once we surpassed that, we had about a month and a half growth. And then we went 26% down. Now, again, we are right now at all-time highs. Actually, again, we just broke through that. So we can possibly expect around about a 50%, I'm predicting, growth jump from here to about $100,000 would make sense. And then possibly a retracement of, again, diminishing drops here. I predict anywhere from a 10 to 15, maybe 20% drop in Bitcoin. Now, what does that really mean as an altcoin buyer? That means, again, alt season will typically happen. The path to alt season chart is a great indication of this. Money flows into Bitcoin, then Ethereum. And as we're finding right now, I mean, Ethereum is starting to move up. It looks like it hopefully will, or at least it's preparing to hit its all-time highs right now. And then, of course, from Ethereum, large caps and alts. Now, this is already starting to take off. Some of these alts are beginning to grow and grow and grow, but they're, I believe, just simply chasing where they should have been placed in the market back when it first started in October. So I believe that a lot of this is beginning to show their true value, and some of these altcoins will begin to grow extremely at that point in time. So again, when Bitcoin decides to finally cool off, we should begin to see alts pop off when Bitcoin does have that correction. Now, what about if this first leg has already started? What if this flip has started right now and the ETFs really did skew with this old data and we're in that massive push right now? Well, again, this would make sense. It goes back into the lengthening cycle theory in the fact that we are currently still in the previous cycle, because every single cycle that goes by, the trough to the very, very bottom to the all-time high gets longer and longer and longer, and it begins to diminish. Plus, we still have an explosive blow-off top. So, in terms of lengthening, each cycle lengthens, again, bottom to top, and each cycle still has that blow-off top, but we had neither in this last cycle. We had none. Again, following the data, that's all we can really do in markets. It didn't play out as according. So basically, 2021 was not the all-time high for the last cycle. We could possibly still be in it. Again, that would have put us somewhere back over here, which would have been about, $80,000 to $100,000 Bitcoin if it did follow that pattern that underpins this entire strategy, right? The Elliott wave theory. Impulse, correction, impulse, correction, impulse. And it was interesting because at the time of when it was supposed to go back to impulse, okay, it was actually right in line with where the individual who's predicting this initially, right, who I base a lot of my own research off, expected it to fall. The reason why we pushed down and fell down so much and that bear market ensued was because of, FTX, Luna, Celsius, the US banking crisis debacle over there, and of course COVID somewhat diminishing and destroying those exponential gains. And so if we are still playing out accordingly, it actually hasn't invalidated just yet. We could still be, rather than like this, in that same pattern, but again, we are still in that fifth possible wave here, okay? So I want you all to just at least have this theory in the back of your mind, because either way, right, if we follow this 4-year cycle pattern where we, again, these ETFs are pushing us into that first leg up, and whether we do have this continuation before our final push up to a mega all-time high in like Q3 or Q4 of 2025, or whether this is the final push up, what we do know is this is likely to be, or very soon to be, our initial first leg up in the cycle. Just like what happened back here, that initial first push, just like what happened back here, everything is lining up to either have that happening now or in the next few months. So my overall opinion here is, no matter what, we're quite possibly again in that first leg up, and I think the evidence is irrefutable. If you're someone on the sidelines waiting for some massive crash, it's likely to come, but after Bitcoin moves up now and then has that maybe 10, 15, 20% dip from that 100K, which yes, would give altcoins a fantastic time to buy, but it doesn't make sense to be more out of the market than to be in the market right now. Again, but you don't want to be overexposing yourself to horrible buys. Let me continue. So even though you aren't buying at bargains, right, you're still likely to 10x on most of these top 100 altcoins from now until their all-time highs. Reconfiguring, and this is the important part, your entry levels. If you don't have an entry level for each of the altcoins you're thinking of buying, you are shooting blind and you are almost setting yourself up for a guaranteed failure. Sounds so silly. Setting your entry levels up, right, finding when you can begin buying, sounds so easy and silly. But if you know buying at that price will allow you to achieve a 10, 20x at that realistic max price, knowing that is a game changer, okay? But without finding that first entry level, you might be buying at prices and expecting an outcome that is extremely unfeasible for that project, especially like Fetch, where it may be a little overextended right now, okay? And you might want to FOMO in. So reduce your expectations and leave with money. The alternative is you get riskier and riskier, chasing the pumps, scrolling down the market cap list here and saying to yourself, while all these are pumped up, I'm going to start looking for altcoins at 100 million market cap. And then you add more and more risk on, which means simply that because you might not be someone who knows this market as much as another, really primary investor, you're going to be shooting blind, and then you're going to end up selling because you have no conviction and buying back into the coins that you become exit liquidity on. And I'll leave here with this final indicator. It's the path to Altseason. Basically, you can kind of use what I showed you in this entire video back over here as that indicator, right? It really is the path to Altseason chart. But ultimately, guys, the path to Altseason pretty much just says, is Bitcoin, doing well versus the aggregate altcoin market? And if Bitcoin does well, altcoins do bad, vice versa. So again, we're waiting for a correction with Bitcoin here to really kind of take that angle with those extra positions. But I think you're crazy right now, crazy, not financially, if you are waiting for a potential crash rather than taking that risk to reward in your favor. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I mean, this is some of the reasons why I've gone so in on crypto recently. I had a lot of my bags still in cash somewhat a few months ago, and I've been, extensively putting those in at the right times to achieve my goals. Just remember, if you're trying to achieve your goals here, I think a smart decision is forecasting what you'll be able to dollar cost average over the course of the next, I'd say 6 to 12 months. Again, if the bull run lasts another 2 more years, that's great news for us, but we might be in that lengthening cycle theory. And once you kind of work out what you can dollar cost average over this period of time, you can actually reduce the, average ROI, right? You can reduce the actual multiples you need, which allows you to buy in higher prices, which is actually a good thing because, again, so long as you're able to bring the top down, your exit actual level, you can, to take off more risk, okay? There's no point adding more risk on. Thanks again. Drop a like if you've made it this far. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye.